we have a Q&A session later after 1 hour of the talk. So we have our speakers today, Jayman Patel. He is a world travel international speaker. Please give applause to him. Thank you very much for giving a talk to this evening, I will say. We're going to enjoy a nice afternoon with the breeze. And the talk is about why don't you speak on it, share your wisdom with the world and get paid. So furthermore, we will invite Jayman to start the talks. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Santi. Get it for Santi. All right.
Forgot to introduce myself. I'm the new events manager in Gianyar's Café. Nice to meet you all.
She makes all this magic happen every week. All right, excellent. Thank you guys for being here. Today we're going to be speaking about whatever it is that you're passionate about, whatever experience you might have had in your life, or whatever wisdom you have that you can share with the world, and how you can find people who will pay you to share that wisdom. This is what I've been doing with my life for the last about 6 years or so, and that's what I want to talk to you guys about today. So before we get into a little bit about me, I'm curious to hear about you guys in terms of wisdom. And I know there's already a lot of wisdom in the room. I'm definitely not the only one here with wisdom, even though I have the microphone. Santi obviously has a microphone as well. She has a lot of wisdom. But I'm curious to hear from you guys, who in the room here is already an expert in something? Yeah? Okay. So what are you an expert in?
Cooking.
Huh?
Cooking.
Cooking? What's your name?
Aisha.
Aisha? So Aisha's an expert in cooking. All right, great. And down here?
Helping people transform.
Helping people transform. All right, Tariq, great. You said you're an expert as well? Detox and detox retreats. Excellent. All right, thank you. Who else? Right here? You, ma'am? A woman I've never seen before? Relationships. That's my wife, by the way, mother of my 2 children. All right. Yeah, right? Give it up for her. All right, who else is an expert? Who else did I miss? Yeah.
Fashion styling.
Fashion styling. Yep. Excellent. Anyone else? All right. Now, in terms of being an expert, that's one part of what makes a wisdom. The other thing is having experiences, having some kind of experience in your life, whether it's, becoming a parent, starting a business, traveling around the world, whatever it might be. Who here has some kind of experience, that's a unique experience that they have that they really want to talk about or share with others to help them? Anyone have that? Yeah? All right, anyone who doesn't have their hand raised already. I love this group right here. Thank you for sitting in the middle. You're really helping by your participation. I can totally cold call like a professor, right? You remember being in college? So how about you, ma'am? You have any story or experience you've had that you might want to share with people?
I am in hotel reservation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Tons of people would want to learn about that, and you might be surprised. Shanti, what's your story that you want to share?
My experience, I worked on the cruise line for 9 years.
Oh my God.
So it's all about customer service.
Yeah. So you know a lot. That gives you a ton of credibility. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else? All right. And finally, I'm curious, what about a passion? What is it something that you're really passionate about that you just love? It could be like Qigong or yoga or, anything that you just do with your time that you love and you would love to share that joy with other people. Anyone have a passion? Something that they're really passionate about? Yeah? Tariq? Is that right?
Sorry.
Tariq, yeah.
Parkour.
Parkour. All right. Excellent. Nikki?
Yeah, travel, transformation.
Travel and transformation. I love it. Zachary? Juggling, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to talk about juggling in a presentation as well. All right, beautiful. So these are all the types of things that fall under the category of wisdom, right? It could be something that you spend a lot of time becoming an expert in, like detox, right? I don't think I could put myself through a detox, so I would need someone like Pia to help me with that, right? Or I might be seeking someone's experiences. I'm about to go through that experience. Ari and I went through having 2 children together, and so during that time, we were frantically looking for resources of people who had already already been through that experience and could help us with their wisdom so that we could avoid some of the big mistakes, right, and learn from that. And obviously passions. Everyone loves learning about passions. Passions are contagious, and so when you have that energy to share passions, people will pay you just to talk about your passion. So what I'm curious is, all of you who raised your hand and talked about the wisdom that you have right now, how many of you are currently monetizing that? How many of you guys are getting paid for that? Okay, about 4 or 5 of you. Okay, Lynn, I saw some of these hands, okay? So what I'm talking about in terms of monetization is really about 6 figures, right? So I'm talking not just some of those events where you're making a few thousand and it feels good and you're in this place. It's really about stepping into full abundance and getting people to pay you thousands just for an hour of your time to speak on it. People always say, you should do the work that you love to do. And what I want to share with you today is how you can get paid to do work just to talk about what you love. Not even having to necessarily do it, just talking about it to inspire and motivate others. It's a huge world out there. A lot of opportunity, thirsty for more people like you, all right? So if I was to ask you right now, if you wanted to make another 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 this year, what would you need to do in order to achieve that? If I asked this question in the U.S., people would say drive for Uber, right? Do online trading, right? Well, think about this question. You may not have thought about it, but what could you do if you had an extra 10, 20, 50,000 this year, right? But it's a question that we don't often think about because our brains aren't wired to think that money is just sitting out there for us to go and take by doing something that we actually really love, right? Some people might think steal from a bank, right? So there's no clear connection typically for a usual person to think that much abundance is just waiting for them to be involved with, all right? And that's what I want to share with you guys today. So the whole presentation is about putting you here, all right? And this is a picture of an actual audience. It's one of my favorite audiences and favorite memories that I've had of being a speaker. This is a room full of about 350 people with a simulcast into the next room over that had about another 180 people in it, and over 120 countries were represented, all right? So countries like Burkina Faso and Uganda and just like all these places that I don't really know about. I don't know their culture. I don't know, just places I haven't really even thought about on the map where they might be, even though I've been to 50 countries. And the beautiful part of this was that I shared my wisdom, and each and every single one of them felt that message resonate, no matter what background they came from, no matter what country they came from, no matter what cultural heritage they had and what experiences they had in their lives. And they all showed tremendous gratitude after it was done, and so much excitement for me to simply share my wisdom. All right? Now, the thing about this that I think is really beautiful is that my story didn't begin this way. My story started with this very important person. Can you guys know who this is? He's a very, very important person. This is me in 6th grade. So you can see, I was kind of a little bit more of a nerdy Indian kid. Very quiet. I wasn't actually very outgoing, and now I'm the speaker who travels around and just strikes up conversations with people. And this was a journey. This was a journey of realizing that by connecting with others, by talking to them, I could share something that could help them. And that felt really good. And there's this cycle that kind of brought me out of what some people might call a shell of being quiet into someone who just can't stop talking and helping and doing those type of things, right? And you guys are laughing because some of you know me already. So this is where my story started. And where my story is right now is that I'm doing presentations and getting paid thousands of dollars to speak at organizations like the ones you see here. And I want to share with you, if I could, just what my story was. I never said I never sat down in a presentation like this and said, hey, that sounds cool, I want to be a speaker. And I never even thought that speaking was something that I could do or that existed as a career. It's kind of this secret career that we all have, other speakers, and we're like, this is pretty rad, right? We should tell other people about this. And so my story started with just a journey that I went on, so an experience that I had, kind of like your 9 years of being on a cruise or being in hotel reservations. Mine was super specific and super niche anyways. It was about getting my MBA, getting a master's in business administration. And I got my master's in business administration, and the unique part of my story is that I was just 23 years old when I started my career in business school, and that's very young for someone who wanted to get an MBA. I was definitely one of the youngest in my class, and what happened was I moved across the country, got into this program called Carnegie Mellon, the Tupper School of Business in Pittsburgh, in the USA. And as I went through this process, I showed up at campus to get access to all the opportunities that I would have through this education I was getting. And the recruiters that I was meeting were much more excited to speak to my classmates who had 3, 5, 7+ years of experience. They perceived me as being too young and too green, too inexperienced to handle those post-MBA level positions, and so I never got an opportunity to get a light of day with them. They just looked me over. And as you can imagine, I was paying the same tuition as everybody else. I'd gone through the same admissions process as everyone else. I'd moved my life across the country like everyone else, yet I wasn't getting the same opportunities. And this really frustrated me. It really something like that occurred. And so as I went through this process, I stepped back and I kind of looked at what was going on, and I realized that I needed to make some changes to the way that I was connecting with other people, networking, building relationships, communicating my value. And so I did. I made some very specific and very strategic changes to the way that I was doing all of these things in my career development. And by the time I finished my first year of business school, I'd landed an offer with every single company that I was targeting. All right, this is like a complete night and day experience for me, and that included all. I used to do management consulting. So if you're familiar, McKinsey, Bain, Booz, Deloitte, Pepsi, American Express. I mean, the list went on. And so this is an amazing accomplishment. I took an internship role with a consulting firm, came back as a second-year student, and that's when I started to pay attention to what I call the universe, right? So the universe always gives us signals in terms of what we should be paying attention to. And as soon as I came back as a second-year student, all the first-year students came in, and they said, Jayman, you barely have any years of experience, but you got all these companies to make you an offer. What's your secret? And I said, really, there's no secret. I just networked really hard. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, yeah, I went to events, I talked to people, I called them on the phone. What did you say on the phone to convince them? And the questions just kept coming. And that's when I realized, wow, I have some kind of experience that has taught me something that maybe my classmates just aren't naturally doing this. And so after being asked about it over and over again, I decided to write it down in like a 10-page manifesto of what to do, what not to do, emotional intelligence. I told you I love talking and helping people, so I just decided to write this whole document and leave it on a shared drive for my school, and I went to go work in consulting. In my journey in consulting, I also became a leader in our recruiting and interviewing teams. So I started traveling to all the top MBA programs in the US and Canada, now as a recruiter, being on the other side of the table, making the assessments about candidates. And what I learned was a great deal. Now that I was the one making the assessments and not the one going through the process, what I learned was that no matter what school I went to, no matter what program I was at, no matter what city I was visiting, extremely bright, capable, and talented individuals just sucked at networking. Just absolutely terrible. I'd be talking to someone in my mind, I'm thinking, dude, you're totally blowing this right now, right? And I know that they had a lot of capabilities, but I just saw them struggling. It was like both of us were showing up to do a dance, and they didn't know any of the steps. And it was just awkward, and I didn't want to keep dancing with them. And I was in a position to tell each person what was going wrong, and I felt very frustrated. And this is, again, when I paid attention to the universe. I was feeling so frustrated at every event I was going to, because maybe like 10% of people actually knew what they were doing. 90% were failing, and they were closing a door to an opportunity to work for a company that they really wanted to work for. But I reflected back on my experience of being a student. And I remember people kept telling me, well, you're networking, make sure you network. Go out there and network, and it'll lead you to success. But nobody actually told me how to go and do it. And I remember being frustrated as a student because I was getting no traction. So there I was, frustrated as a recruiter, frustrated as a student, and I said, this sucks. And I had someone in my network who became like a mentor to me. He had written his own book, and he said, you should just write a book about this. And I was like, me? Okay, yeah, I think I can do this. And so, I'm very analytical, very frameworks-driven, engineering undergrad, analytical MBA, consulting for 4 years. So I said, I can put a framework around this topic of networking. And I did, and I wrote my first book. It was called The MBA Guide to Networking Like a Rock Star. And I wrote that book. I published it, put it out there to help people. And then once I did that, I kept working in consulting because I was really good at it. I didn't know what else to go do. Now, as a consultant, I'm flying 2 or 3 flights a week, visiting big corporations that I'm working with. And I always love going on flights because I love starting a conversation with the person next to me. Now, they don't always like it, but I do. And in this specific case, they happened to be very open to conversation and started telling me a little bit more about them. And what they told me was that his name was Joe. He was a second-year student at the University of Pittsburgh at the Katz School of Business, and he has just accepted a role with KPMG. So he tells me all this, and he goes, Jayman, tell me more about you. And I kind of paused for a moment and said, well, what do I want to talk about with this stranger? Because, we're all multifaceted individuals, and when you're on a plane for an hour, you can talk about anything. I could have been like, I'm a professional kite flyer, right? And just talked about that if I wanted to. But I felt this intuition when he told me who he was, that I should really step into what might be next for my career in terms of this book. And I said, for the first time ever, I turned to Joe and I said, actually, Joe, I'm an author. Which felt really cool to say, right? And he goes, oh, dude, that's so cool. You have a book. What's the name of your book? I said, my book is called The MBA Guide to Networking Like a Rock Star. He goes, dude, I'm an MBA. I go, dude, I know. This is why I'm telling you. And so the pieces started coming together. And by the time the plane landed, he said, Jayman, I love your content. It's so great to meet you. I want to connect you with other folks at my school because I think my school and my classmates could really use your advice. I said, that would be amazing. He goes, can I make an introduction? I go, yes, please. So I was back in Pittsburgh. My family's from Pittsburgh, so I'm there a lot. A few weeks later, and I had a meeting with the school, and they said, Jayman, we loved your book, and we want to get a copy for every incoming MBA student. This was like my baby. I was just blown away. I didn't expect to get like a bulk order of every incoming MBA student, right? So it's over 100 books just in one go. I was like, ooh, I'm onto something here. And I said, that'd be great. Thank you so much. I'll give you like a 10% discount or something, right? And then they said, and when we give away your book, we'd love to have you come speak to our students to get them inspired and motivated about what you're talking about. Can you do that? I go, yeah, I can definitely. I can put something together, no worries. I used to be a Bollywood dancer, choreographer, so I love performing, right? So I had no issues. I said, yeah, I'll put something together. They go, great. Does this date work for you? I said, yeah, I can come back for that date. And they go, great. How much do you charge? To speak? I didn't even know that you can get paid to be a speaker. I didn't even know that existed. And when she asked me so naturally, how much do you charge? I didn't know what she was talking about. And I realized she meant to speak. And so I said, okay, I need to say a number now. I just, and I need to say a number that's not going to be too low or too high that they say no to all these books and everything that they're going to do. And I kind of looked at her and I said, $800. And she goes, okay. And I could tell I had lowballed it by 2. I didn't know what number to say. And $800 is way less. It's not even. It might sound like a lot of money to get for an hour of your time. We're talking thousands per hour. All right. And so I said $800. I squeaked it by, and I got lucky. But what happened was they introduced me to all the folks in their network who were looking for people like me to help their students in the same way through my book. And I didn't even know that I could have a career as a speaker, but I quit my job and I took a risk and I said, I'm going to go be an entrepreneur. And when you're an entrepreneur, you need to believe in your product, right? And what do you believe in more than yourself? Like, I'm the product. I believe in that product, right? So I decided to take a risk, and they introduced me to all the folks in their network. That year, I ended up making $40,000 speaking at different MBA programs through the connections that I made through this one school that had connected me to folks in the network. They simply stood up and said, hey, this guy was awesome. We really recommend him. And I started charging more than $1,000, which is what led me to, I think I did around like 20 or so talks, and I made $40,000 my first year. And that's just, it just happened. I was just lucky with my positioning and my crowd and the connection, and everything kind of flowed for me. And it was beautiful, right? And there's a lot of gratitude for that. And at the end of that year, I found, I was doing some trainings and things to learn about this new career. And I went to this boot camp in Los Angeles for 5 days. And this guy was amazing, a little bit cheesy, but really amazing, knew what he was doing. And I decided to invest in him as a coach. It was $10,000 to invest in him for a 1-year coaching program. And I just made 40, and I had no other income because I wasn't working my 6-figure consulting job anymore. And it was a big decision, but I just felt like I need to blow this up. So I put in the $10,000, and the next year I tripled my business, and within 14 months of launching had now reached 6 figures just speaking about what I love speaking about. And that's my story. That's how I got to then expand to Harvard Business School, Stanford Business School. Guess what? All those people graduated and started to go work at these amazing companies, JP Morgan, Discover, MasterCard, Starbucks. And they said, Jayman, come speak to our groups, right? This is the beauty of speaking, is that once you speak to a group, all those people have, you just marketed your product to them. They just saw you in action, and if they loved it, they're going to be like, hey, can you come to this other group I'm in, or I'm in a Toastmasters group, or I'm in a volunteer group, or I'm in a whatever group, will you come and speak? All right, and that's the beauty of this whole thing, and it's taken me on this journey that eventually led me to giving my TED Talk. And if you're curious about the TED Talk, I'll just tell you the real quick story on that was I got this email from someone, and they said, Jayman, we want to have you come to Belgium and give a TED Talk. Do you want to do it? That was it. That was the whole email. I was in Malaysia at the time, and I messaged Ari, I forwarded it to her, and I was like, do you think this is free? He's like, well, there's only one way to find out. So I responded back, and I was like, sure, that sounds cool. How do you know who I am? Because I've never spoken in Belgium at this point, right? I've spoken in London, Milan, Rome, Copenhagen, Cape Town, Hong Kong, Kuala Lumpur. I've spoken all around the world, but I had not ever spoken in Belgium. And yet this Belgium organization wanted me to come give a TEDx talk. So I said, how do you know who I am? I was very kind of standoffish. And they responded back and said, oh, well, remember that photograph that I showed you of that big audience just 2 slides ago? Somebody in that specific audience was the former coordinator of that TEDx event, came to this event that I spoke at in the U.S. They started following me on social media, started to see what I was doing, and they've tracked me for a full year, and a year later they made the invitation and said, we love what you're doing, we want you on stage. And that's all it was. And I was just shocked, because as someone who wants to share inspiration and someone who wants to help others, to get invited to a country halfway around the world where I've never spoken before and get a stage like TEDx to speak on, it just blew me away. And so, yeah, so it's just all kind of this momentum thing. And I wish there was a lot that I knew when I got started. I was lucky with that mentor group and then my coach. And so I want to give you kind of all that knowledge right now through today to help you understand what it is that you're getting into, how to navigate this, and how to really bring a lot of abundance into your life if you're ready for that. All right, does that sound good?
Yeah.
All right, excellent. So, oh, I forgot the best part of my story. This affords me to live what I call the life at hand, all right? Me and my wife, who also is an author, speaker, and coach, spoke here just 2 weeks ago. We travel around the world with our 2 young sons, having the most amazing adventures. We get to be full-time parents because our work does not, it's not a 9 to 5, it's not a 24/7. It's not a lot of time except for when we're actually doing the work that we want to go do. So this is us. This is in Belgium when we went for the TEDx talk. This is my wife's book launch. This is just, you know, all the things that we get to do and enjoy. Our sons are 2.5 and 13 months, and they've already been to 11 countries and 25 U.S. states. They've flown more flights than some families that I know back in the U.S., right? And they're only 2.5. So this is what, not only is it about sharing your wisdom and getting paid, it's about creating a life that you want, traveling, connection, relationship, family, whatever it is that you're seeking. It gives you the freedom to go and do that. So, okay. So I have what I call the best job in the world. I cannot imagine a single person on this planet who has a better job than me. I don't know. Maybe you can give me some ideas, but I'll tell you why I love it. Number one, no other job I know pays you thousands per hour of your time. Literally, I had somebody offer me $3,500 for a half an hour talk. And I was like, are you serious? I can talk for an hour. They go, no, we only have half an hour. I said, okay, yeah, I'll do that. It enables you to work when, where, and how often you want. If you want to make 40 extra thousand in addition to your detox workshops, great. All you have to do is work to make 40 more thousand. If you want to make $500,000, work to make $500,000. You get to scale and do it however, wherever, and whenever you want. You make a direct impact on people, right? You have online products and all this sort of stuff, but really being one-on-one with someone, connecting them in the eye and sharing your love, your passion, your wisdom, your expertise, you're directly impacting people. Another job when you complete it is followed by tremendous gratitude, praise, fandom, autographs. I mean, you literally are a rock star. People come up to me and say, you changed my life. I've been making all these mistakes that you talked about, and I never got anywhere where I wanted with my career. Thank you so much for giving me this today. right? And then other people will be like, hey, that was cool, thanks a lot. And, it wasn't a big deal to them. But those people for whom you really, really connect with and your passion changes them, and it's usually about 25% of your audience, those people are the people who I have goosebumps. Can you see that? Just talking about it. It's such an amazing feeling to come up and really get so much gratitude and so much praise for doing a good job of whatever it is that you're doing. When I was working in corporate America, if I didn't make a mess, they'd say, oh, good job, you didn't screw up. That was a praise I got. Way to not screw it up. Versus something like this. Next, people think you're a huge deal, right? So, you get invited to VIP parties, you meet amazing people. Deepak Chopra, I've met. Russell Peters, I've met. Who else? Just outstanding people. And Deepak Chopra, I just happened to be at a restaurant, and Deepak was there, and I was like, hey, I'm Indian, I'm an author, I want to connect with him. Oh my God, really? Like, tell us who you are. And they totally just brought me around, and I got to take photos with Deepak Chopra. Just because I was like, this is who I am. And this is what happened. You hear their stories, and it's this continuous cycle of inspiration. Not only are you dishing it out, but now you get into different circles where you get to bring it in for yourself and fill yourself up to give more out, and it's this amazing virtuous cycle. And then the more you do it, the less you work and the more you earn. The same clients that I worked with 5 years ago, I'm charging them double or triple. Same folks, similar talk, but I'm charging double or triple now because I've understood how my worth has increased, and the TED Talk obviously helped a lot in terms of my market credibility. So the more you do it, the more you can actually charge for your time. I mean, it's for doing the same work, and I'm talking double or triple, not like a 10%, increase in your salary. And if you think about it, what does every celebrity, athlete, artist, what do they do when they're done with their career? You find them speaking, right? Politicians, whatever. As soon as they're done with their career, you see them pop up and speak about all these different things. Why? Because it's such an amazing career that even when you're done with those careers that you would think are the best, model, actor, whatever, they all then come back to this because this is the best job in the world. All right? So, who thinks that sounds awesome? Right? I just think this is awesome. I don't know, I'm tickled by this whole thing that exists. So, this is the issue, though. We're programmed to believe in a 9 to 5, right? So we're thinking that we have to go get, most people I talk to, I'm like, why do you do what you're doing? They're like, well, I have to work 9 to 5 anyways, so I might as well be doing X, Y, or Z, right? And so this is the idea that we've kind of brought up with, is that you work so many hours a week, and that's how you determine what you're worth. And it's surprising, and it's really hard. It's hard for me to transition from I was working like 70 to 80 hours a week as a consultant, to now maybe an average of 4 hours a week, making more than I used to make there. That's a big change. I worked with another coach just to help me step into dealing with that relationship to abundance, right? And so we're led to believe this 9 to 5 is what gives us our worth, and it's whatever we make per hour, and that should increase in nice, steady increments over our life. That's this weird idea that people put into their minds, and it holds them back from knowing that this kind of abundance is out there. And then if we want to break out of the 9 to 5, then we have the 24/7, the entrepreneur. You're doing what's passionate for you. You're not working for somebody else, but now you're putting in 24/7 hours to put in all the effort that you need to launch your business, to talk to people, to convert them, or whatever else that you need to do. It's not even about 24/7. It's literally about 4 hours a week, maybe 8 if you're really, really aggressive. All right. So I call this the best business model in the world. All right, if you're working a 9 to 5, you have so much limitations on what you can do, and you let other people tell you what you're worth. If you're working the entrepreneur route, then you have to put in the long hours and all this sort of stuff, but you got the wrong business model. You can be an entrepreneur, or what I call a solopreneur, right? And it's way better business model. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you a bunch of reasons why. You don't need a staff. I had no staff the entire first 2 years that I did this. Now, because I don't want to do the invoicing and paperwork, I have a VA who works about 20 hours a year for me. That's it. She just does the invoicing and all that sort of stuff I don't really want to do. I could do it, I just don't want to do it. So you don't even need a staff if you don't want to. There's no meetings, there's no decisions. You get to decide what you want to do, when you want to do, however you want to do it. You have to go to an office. There's no commute. You can work when you want. So if you want to do all your work for the month in 2 days, you can do that. If you want to work at 1 in the morning like I do, you can do that. If you're a night owl. Work from where you want. I was just working here at this table with this amazing breeze. in Bali. You can work the way that you want, right? I didn't have my shirt on earlier, so most of you saw that, right? I put a shirt on just because, I'm speaking, but I was just here with no shoes and no shirt, just working the way that I want. I don't have to wear a suit and tie or do anything like that. And you believe in your product, right? So many times we get turned on to something, it's like, well, yeah, the company's not great, but I get to work remotely, and so that's really cool. But you get to believe in yourself and what you're sharing, and nothing beats that level of self-love, There's very low startup costs. You don't have to do a lot of investments. You don't have to get people to fund you or things like that. You can course correct as you go. As you get started and you find an opportunity, you can kind of reposition and go a little bit however you want. There's no one saying that you're stuck in doing whatever it is that you're doing for the rest of whatever, right? People who have worked 10 years doing some kind of like IT work, they get pigeonholed. This is the work you're going to do for the next 40 years. You can't really course correct or change, but with this, you can. There's a virtual cycle market. What I mean by that is the virtuous cycle of having an audience, and that audience then wanting to get coaching from you, wanting to give you more speaking gigs. It's just by doing what you love, you can market yourself. You don't have to go out there and do actual other marketing. That always helps, of course, but just by doing what you love, you're marketing yourself, and it leads to other opportunities. All right? It's a huge market opportunity. I'll talk about how big this market is. And this is kind of called the expert industry. Yeah? So there's a lot of different ways you can make money in what's called the expert industry. It is the next billion-dollar industry. There's great competitive dynamics. I mean, you always know exactly what your competition is up to. You go to their website, you see what they're offering, you see who their clients are, and you can kind of, again, course correct if you need to differentiate or collaborate with them. You know exactly what's going on. None of that information is hidden. It's on their websites because they're trying to promote everything that they're doing to bring in more clients. You can turn on and turn off the model. My model right now is I work about 4 months a year, and I make pretty much 90% of our income in those 4 months, and the rest of the 8 months, we're here in Bali, hanging out, doing free talks for the community. This is what we get to do. So I get to turn it off for 8 months, I turn it on for 4 months, and it supports our life around the world, traveling with a family of 4. So can we make some noise for the freedom? Right? Who's excited for freedom? What about the impact? Impacting other people. We're going to make some noise for impact. And finally, the abundance. Who wants some abundance? All right, excellent. This is what I'm talking about. So here's how it works. I'm going to break it down for you, all right? You got to first choose your platform. That means choose what you're going to talk about and what that message is going to be. And then you deliver it and get paid. No, it's not that easy, okay? So there's a few more steps in the middle, how it really works. You got to choose your platform. So you need to choose what it is that you want to talk about, right? So I have a friend, she gave this talk called Ignite. It's kind of like a TED format. She gave this in Seattle, and she talked about death. And the passing of her father, and how we don't really talk about what happens when somebody dies, and that leads for a lot of surprise in the midst of a lot of sorrow. And it's something that's really passionate about her. But the idea is that if you're choosing it as your platform, then guess what? Every time that you go on stage, you're talking about a loved one dying. Is that something that you can handle? So you need to be careful about choosing your platform and making sure it's something that you can share over and over and over again and kind of really get energized by. If it becomes something that you're like, yeah, this can help, but it's really something that's a little bit negative or just brings up, something hard for you, just be careful about choosing that as your platform, because that's going to be what you go on for your career doing if you choose that. So you need to be really wise about choosing a platform that's energizing for you, all right? And that could be energizing for some people to just kind of feel that trauma again and kind of go through it and help others. It could be. But for her, she found that it was just too much, right? So you need to be wise about choosing your platform. Then you need to position your platform. This is the main thing that trip up people. They don't know how to position their platform. And on the next slide, I'm going to talk exactly about an example of how positioning can change everything that you do. Okay, so you need to be really wise about positioning yourself in a way that will get you paid. Okay. Then you got to market yourself. right? And a lot of this just means doing what you loved and giving talks and giving lots of talks, meeting with people and talking to them about, like me on the airplane, right? Saying, hey, I can totally help, like this is what I do. And like just having that excitement, it just feels more empowered when you know that what you do can help people. And then you got to go and tell more and more people. And as you tell more people, then you deliver and you get paid. Right? And then the cool part, as I mentioned before, is that this virtuous cycle exists. The more you deliver and get paid, the more you automatically market yourself, and as you're doing that, the more opportunities you get, and it just becomes this cycle. And when you can find a group of people who recommend you to similar audiences, bingo, you've hit the jackpot. For me, that was $40,000 in 4 months. That's what it was. And again, a lot of that was lucky to all the right folks. All right? Got it?
Got it.
All right. So, how do I position my platform? All right? So all of you talked about amazing things that you are passionate about or you have expertise in or you want to go do. However, a lot of those things you will not be able to get paid to speak about. All right? Because you're talking about it the wrong way. You're positioning it the wrong way. All right? So if you tell me transformation, all right, I might pay for that depending on like what that really means. But that alone doesn't tell me enough about you. Because what you need to ask yourself to understand how to position yourself is a very simple approach. It's simply, what problem am I solving? Okay, and I'll give you an example of this. I had somebody that I was coaching who wanted to get into the speaking world, and they wanted to talk about empowerment and helping people use their voice, specifically kids, right? So his whole positioning was, I want to empower young people to use their voice. That's beautiful. I mean, I think that's an absolutely beautiful thing that our children need, especially in the U.S., being where I'm from and seeing lots of what's going on. Children all around the world need this, but especially in the U.S., I think there's a big need for what's going on with the shootings and all this sort of stuff that's happening. People don't have their voice, and it's coming out in other ways. And so he wants to talk about this. Is important. This is super important. Guess what? He's not going to get paid for that, right? If you go to a principal and say, I want to empower your students to use their voice, that would be really great, but I don't think we have a budget for that. We have a lot of other things that we would like to focus on. So he wants to talk about this topic. He's chosen his platform. It is really powerful. I've seen the work that he can do, but he's not going to get paid for it. He can make one change and completely do the same exact talk that he wants about empowering people with their voice, but he has to position it differently. And what we did for him is we changed his positioning to anti-bullying. Guess what? You talk to a principal and say, I have an anti-bullying program for your students, sign me up. Because we need anti-bullying. We don't need empowerment with using your voice. We need anti-bullying. Guess what he talked about in his anti-bullying talk? Empowerment. Using your voice, standing up, right? All of those things that are anti-bullying, but the problem he was solving was anti-bullying, right? So you talk about transformation, Tariq. What problem do you solve for people?
I support people transforming areas in their personal life. So if they feel particularly stuck in one area in their personal life,
Yeah.
I know how to move them through that.
So you help them get unstuck.
Yeah.
Now you're on a path. You're on a path to getting somewhere closer to what would give you a platform that you can position, right? I help people get unstuck. Okay, but you need to go a little bit, few layers deeper than that, right? To actually get to a point where you can get paid. But this is how you need to position yourself. It's all about the positioning. When you can position your passion, your expertise, your experience into something that is attractive, appealing, and authentic, that's when you find those opportunities where people will say, please come speak to my group about this because we need that. Make sense?
Yep.
All right, excellent. And then the question about marketing. I'm not just going to gloss over that and not teach you anything about this. I'm actually going to tell you exactly. How many of you guys would love if I told you what kind of things you can get paid to speak on and who would pay you to do it? No? We can skip. Well, I'll just skip this slide. All right. Anyone? Yes. All right. So this is the world of fee-paid speaking. I'm going to break it down for you into each bucket so you know exactly how you can take your positioning and apply it to the right market who will pay you. So the markets are youth, college, corporate training, corporate keynotes, and association keynotes. There are other types of speaking, platform selling, things like that. I'm not talking about that here, all right? Because you get paid to get a fee, you get paid to give a sales presentation for an hour and a half, and then hopefully somebody signs up for your program. I don't like doing that sort of stuff, but this is the world of what people will pay you for. So, in youth, they will pay you for either the types of speaking that exist, assemblies, right? You have an assembly, gather all the kids, ceremonies, graduation, commencement, things like that. And then after school programs, so doing something for youth after they're done with school, leveraging the school's facilities, because something that you do for transformation maybe fit into this, right? Perhaps. In the college market, people will pay for workshops, all right? So that's where I got my start with the networking. I did a workshop on careers, okay? So that's what helped. And then there's motivation and entertainment. So this would be something like, okay, you're fresh to college, you're a freshman, you just arrived, it's the first week of school. What do you want? You want motivation, you want entertainment, you want welcome week, right? So there's a huge orientation. This is a huge market. You know, for every university, they have budgets allocated to having an amazing first 2-week experience for students to help them get integrated. So can something that you talk about, you know, really help them understand just how they can feel really good. Just feel good, right? Not even necessarily learn something. Ceremonies, again, commencement and things like that. Or you can even be a guest teacher. Now, the guest teacher, you don't always get paid. Sometimes it's just for exposure. But saying that you've guest lectured at, you know, a university gives you that much more credibility to go and get paid in other ways, right? So it's all about building that platform so that you can get paid. If you want to go in the corporate market, okay, and you want to go up above and beyond and kind of like the older crowd, there's corporate training and there's corporate keynotes. Those are very different. The corporate trainings are targeted towards executives. You can do executive leadership. This is what my wife Ari used to do in the tech world, working with executives who were, you know, director, senior VP, you know, C-suite level. Or you can talk to the managers, right? So you know, like the mid-level managers and doing training around how to be a great leader, how to motivate your team, how to manage your time, right? All those type of things. Or you can talk directly to the employees, right? A lot of what I do is career management. How do you manage your career in this company? Right? How do you become a better employee? How do you connect with other departments and know what's going on? How do you innovate? How do you be more bold? Amazon just asked me to say, hey, I saw your TED Talk. It was amazing. I shared it with one of my employees, and it just gave him the boldness. The story she told me was like, you know, this guy was like not speaking up in meetings. She sent him my TED Talk and then gave him an opportunity that you're speaking in a meeting 2 weeks from now. And the day before she checked in and said, all right, are you ready for tomorrow? You need to speak for at least 5 minutes and present. And this is what she told me that he said. He goes, I was feeling really nervous, but I watched Jayman's TED Talk every day for the last 5 days, and now I feel ready to talk about it. Yeah, so I'll tell you in a moment. But my TED Talk is about how to be authentic in your professional life. So what I contend in my TED Talk is that if you want to be successful, then you've got to be weird. So if that resonates with you or intrigues you, Andreas just saw it, but you can Google my name and TEDx and see the talk. But it talks about how to reduce that risk of kind of bringing that authentic self everywhere that you go. But that blew me away. When she told me that, I was like, you're kidding me. And she said that, she goes, you know, if I can give it to, hi, hello, hi, cutie. Oh my gosh. He's so cute. Cool Dudes Club. I want in. All right. And she says to me, Jayman, if I can give that to one of my employees and can make that impact, what if you spoke at our all-hands meeting for the entire unit? So when I go back to Seattle, I'm going to be speaking for Amazon on how to be more bold and speak up in meetings and things like that. So, I mean, again, the opportunities here are just you won't even believe. So the employees, and then there's something called affinity networks. If you guys haven't had corporate experience, I'll just let you know. Affinity networks means most corporations will have a network for young professionals, for black professionals, Asian professionals, LGBT professionals. So you can connect with them, and they often have budgets to bring you in to speak on a specific topic. So that's another great way to get into the corporate training market. Then there's corporate keynotes. So again, meetings, all hands summits, sales summits. You know, the operations team has an all hands meeting, whatever. That's another area we can get paid. And then there's association keynotes. And this is what people think about when they think about getting paid to speak. There's this whole world with lots and lots and lots of money flowing. And then there's this, and this is what people think speaking means. And that's a great way to get into speaking, but it's very, very hard because you have to have, you know, a TED Talk, you have to have a couple 100,000 followers on social media, you have to have a New York Times bestseller, you need to do something that's really next level. But once you do that, you can get into talking about success, leadership, sales, top 3 topics that associations or industry meetings are, in this pretty much conferences what I'm talking about, yeah? Any conference that's occurring. If you have a unique mission. I attended a conference where the keynote speaker talked about being an introvert. in a world of extroverts. That was her mission. Her mission was to be more quiet or something like that, or pay attention to the quiet. And so she just shared her unique mission of saying, hey, introverts operate this way. Most people in the workforce are extroverts. Listen to what we might be able to bring to the table. And that was what she talked about. And she probably got over $10,000 for that. If you're a celebrity, right? I mean, this is even people who are like, on The Apprentice or The Bachelor. I mean, I've seen them keynote conferences. They're celebrities, but like way like D-list, right? You can still get paid lots of money to speak. And then obviously there's the faith and spirituality world, right? So the faith-based market or spirituality in general are all, where there's an association or a conference existing, that's where you can speak about that if that's something that's really interesting and unique to you. All right, sound good? All right, so this is the entire world I just showed you of how to get into fee-paid speaking, and now I'm going to tell you who in these organizations will pay you, so you know who to target. How about that? So who pays? In a youth market, each school pays. So if you want to get paid, you go talk to a principal at that school. In college, student organizations can pay you, and there are a variety of departments, like orientation has a department. Corporate training, the department head, the program manager, or the actual affinity groups have a budget. Same thing for the corporate keynotes. Each of those will have an all-hands, a summit, or a meeting. And then for association keynotes, it's the meeting planners. All right? So these are the individuals that you want to market to and go find where they are and say, hey, this is what I do. And if you have your positioning right and you have your marketing right, they'll say, okay, how much do you charge? And then you'll know how to answer that question, okay? So this number, everyone know what this number is? 100,000 talks. This is the estimate for how many fee-paid speaking gigs there are every day. Every day, there are over 100,000 people who are getting paid to speak on their passion with sharing their wisdom. All right? Do you guys feel like you can maybe tap into 1% of that? Or 0.001% of that? Right? Yes? Yeah. All right. Hopefully, right? So there's a huge market. There's a huge opportunity out there that exists for speakers who want to share their wisdom, but have their positioning right and have their marketing right and things like that. So this is another way that I see people think about speaking, okay? This is what I call the old formula, all right? And the old formula kind of goes like this. You have about 40 people to an event. So you have your own event. I'm a speaker. I have my own event. So I have my own event, and I'm going to invite people. Oh, I got 40 people coming to my event. That's awesome. How much are they paying you? They're paying me $100 each. Now, usually I just went to an event in Ubud yesterday. It was $40, right? But maybe you get $100 from people. All right, so you have 100 people or 40 people paying you $100 each, which is a great cost for maybe a detox weekend or whatever it might be. And what you end up with is $4,000 in revenue. That's a pretty nice chunk of change, right? $4,000 for a weekend or a seminar or a day-long program or whatever else that you might be doing. That's pretty cool. And so you hustle to make 40 different sales. All right? Now, what if I showed you the six-figure formula for how to do this in the fee-paid speaking world? You guys want to see the six-figure formula? Yes. All right. So now the six-figure formula is this. You find people who will pay you $2,500 per talk. This is still at the low end, okay? This is like the medium to low end. So you make the same 40 sales, the same effort that you put into selling 40 people at $100 each to make $4,000. You put in the same effort to make those same 40 sales, but now you're making $2,500 per sale, and you just made your six figures. That's $100,000 right there. Right? You see how the effort that we're trained to put in makes us limit the abundance we feel that we can access, and we feel good about getting 40 people to pay us $100 and walking away with $4,000 because that's like, working in a corporate job somewhere. But instead, we can just make 40 sales using what I'm teaching you right now and make six figures. And you can probably do that in 40 days if you wanted to, and then spend the rest of the 324 days doing whatever you wanted. You see how the opportunity is just crazy? Like sometimes I have to really think about is this am I missing something? It's been 6 years of doing this, and this is what it is. So pretty awesome, right? Yeah. All right. So wisdom. I want to go back and talk a little bit about wisdom, and I want to share with you some stories of friends or people that I've personally coached in their process to kind of pick what their wisdom might be, and it might surprise you, and just to inspire you of people who are out there doing this, okay? So again, wisdom falls under a variety of categories. There's experience, there's passion, and there's expertise, yeah? So let's start with passion. This is my friend Ginger. It's a little bit dark, but she's on stage here. And what she likes to talk about is something very simple. It's called a traveler's mindset. It's all about how to live a life of adventure and have a traveler's mindset whenever you go traveling. You know, she has a website with free resources on how you can go travel the world, you know, how you can do work studies and visas, everything that you need. All the links are there to give you this traveler's mindset because she loves traveling. She's been to half the countries I've been to, but she loves traveling, and this is what she chose as her expertise. Now, you might say, I'm twice so much of an expert. I've been to twice so many countries, but it doesn't matter. She's been to those many countries. She talked about traveling, and the interesting thing is that she decided to do her TED Talk in Billings, North or South Dakota. I don't remember. I think it's South Dakota. Okay, so she found like the puniest little TED organization that's like in the middle. It's a 3.5 hour drive from Minneapolis. All right, so I've never been to this place. I don't know much about it, but she got connected into that organization, got invited to speak, and the best thing about her story is that even though she had a small platform and a topic that I'm sure everyone in here who's living in Bali right now is like, I can talk about travel, right? Well, she decided to take the step and go do this, and look at this. Almost 200,000 views on her TED Talk. 200, that's more than mine, all right? 200,000 people have been impacted by her sharing her wisdom, and all she talked about was her passion for traveling. Isn't that freaking awesome, right? So give it up for Ginger, right? All right, so experience. So there's a variety of things we can talk about in terms of experience. This is my friend Arjuna. All right, so Arjuna actually grew up outside of Detroit. When he was 22 years old, he was a very successful drug dealer, got shot, was left to die, somehow was revived in the hospital, and lived to tell about it. And now he shares that experience with us. I get goosebumps. Can you see that? Ooh, just talking about it. So he's such a powerful, I love this person. He's such a powerful, powerful person. And he decided to go and share for the good what it is that he learned in his process. And so now he has this thing called Share Necessities, like bare necessities, but Share Necessities, and he's bringing inner peace to the streets. He teaches mindfulness, meditation, and yoga to inner city LA County schools in Los Angeles. This is what he does with his time, and he's so successful with this. He has a whole nonprofit on the side that he goes into. He's speaking all over the place, and his story is so captivating that people just keep wanting to pay him to speak. All right, and so it may not be as captivating maybe as 9 years on a cruise ship, but it's all about how you position it. Right? So it could be very exciting because I might be like, whoa, what happens on a cruise ship for 9 years? That's a long time to be on, in close quarters with people. So it depends on how you position it, right? But his positioning was spot on, and he talks about this experience that he had, and he's helping so many young black women, men and women, boys and girls, however you want to look at it, with the work that he's doing. And he's getting paid to do that. So it's living a life where your mission is aligned with the work that you're doing, and you can have the abundance, and you're helping people. I mean, so this is one example of a story where he's talking about his experience. Expertise. All right, so when it comes to expertise, Zach, you're going to love this. I did not know Zach was actually going to be here when I put this slide in, but this guy, how he became a juggling motivational speaker. So his unique positioning is that he's a juggler. Guess what his talk is about? Balancing multiple things you have up in the air, right? So who in corporate America has a lot of things up in the air? Everybody. Who needs help managing that? Everybody. How unique of a positioning is juggling? Evidently amazing, because you can even read this blog. Just Google this. I'll give you the blog of how he's getting paid thousands of dollars to juggle on stage, put down the pins, and then say, hey, what I just did there applies to you in these ways. Here's learning number 1, learning number 2, learning number 3. Thank you so much. Right? So your expertise can be something so detailed as nutrition and detox and how the body works. Or it could be a skill that you do like juggling. It could be really anything if you position it the right way and share and have that energy, that passion that you want to go and share this to help people, and you find that connection, And I'm sure he's amazing because he's very successful. Again, he talks to an audience. That audience says, can you talk to this audience? Can you talk to this audience? And this is the life he's living. And he's doing it all based around what he loves, which is juggling. All right? Is that pretty awesome? Yeah. Right? Yeah, give it up. All right. So if you're worried about expertise, some of you didn't raise your hand at the beginning. Oh, I don't know if I'm an expert. I don't know if I could talk about this sort of stuff. Totally cool. You can develop some kind of expertise, but there's a lot of ways that you can do it. And my favorite example of helping people understand how you can not really be an expert, but still become extremely impactful in terms of the world is this example. How do you guys know this book, Think and Grow Rich? Everybody, right? Everybody. This guy, Napoleon Hill, do you guys know what he was an expert in? Interviewing people. When he wrote this book, he had no expertise of his own. He simply had curiosity. And he said, all right, well, how can I learn from the big robber barons, right? Andrew Carnegie and Rockefeller and all these people who are so successful. What if I can get time with them? So he networked his way in to get time with them. He interviewed them in a brilliant manner, right? He's a great communicator. And he just found out what is the secret to your success. What makes you so successful? And he found the commonalities across all the super successful people at that point in time. And he wrote this book. And this book has been a perennial bestseller. I mean, this is like, even today, everybody I know has read this book, right? I mean, he wrote this like in the 20s, I think, right? So almost 100 years later, it's still relevant. He's done such a brilliant work with it. And it's this, this positioning is amazing because people want to know this, and he just took the step and said, I'm going to go interview these people. I don't have any expertise of my own, but what if I can share the wisdom of those other people in a really beautiful way? And that's what he's done, all right? So if you don't have an expertise that you're really kind of sitting on right now, many of you did raise your hands, and assuming you're here at Genius Cafe, I assume that you have some sort of expertise anyways. But if you don't, can you go and inquire and have curiosity around something that you want to have expertise in? Find the people to talk to, do the Google searches, read the books in this area, and establish expertise in those things, right? So with Pia, I'm sure she has read lots of books, works with lots of people, maybe made a few mistakes, but learned from them, right? Tried it on her own and said, okay, what happens if I mix this juice with this juice on this day or whatever, right? And that's how she's developed her expertise, because she's probably been doing this for a few years. You don't become an expert overnight, but you got to go out there and have that drive and that curiosity to go and establish yourself as an expert. And once you can do that, and you have that unique knowledge, then you need to go and wield it so you can help people, not at a workshop with 40 people where you're paying $100, but a crowd of 300 people where you're getting paid thousands. That's what it's all about. So, is this for you? This might sound incredible, but it may or may not be for everyone. I think it's actually for everyone, but it may or may not be, right? So I want to tell you what I spend my time doing, and if that sounds cool to you, then this might be something that you want to go and do as well, all right? So, would you enjoy speaking for 60 to 90 minutes on what you love? Yeah? Okay, great. Designing a website about you or your passion, sharing that information. Great. Sending emails, yeah? Attending events, talking on the phone, traveling to cool places, receiving a check. This is my job description. This is what I do for 4 hours a week, every week. I just send emails to people, I'll go to an event and talk to people, I'll call people on the phone, I'll let them know what I do, and they pay me lots of money to come travel to their place. Some places are not so cool, but depends on perspective. I went to Missouri and I thought it was really cool because I'd never been there before. Most people would be like, no, I'm busy that day, right? But you have your own flexibility to go wherever you want. But I've got to go some really cool places, like Hawaii. And then I just receive a check. In fact, I don't really even do that piece. My assistant handles all that piece that I talked about. But this is what I do. Once I create my talk and have a website, over and over again. This is all I need to be doing. And a lot of times, now that I'm established especially, people will go to my website and reach out to me and say, hey, I just saw a video that you posted. Will you come speak to me? Nationwide Insurance, they saw a video that I posted on how to start a conversation with anyone, booked me to do a webinar for the entire North American sales team, because they wanted to have the sales team know how to connect with others. It's just things just kind of, again, they grow as you go and do it. So if you enjoy these things, then I can help you make this happen, all right? Now, how can I help you? I've given you a lot of information to go and get started, but there's still a lot of depth here. I'm talking to a group of people. The magic happens in the one-on-one. So if you want to connect one-on-one, what I can help you with is choosing the right topic. You probably have a lot of things that you're passionate about, that you love to do, that you have wisdom in. So again, discuss and surface your true passion and your inner wisdom. Like I said, don't choose talking about death if that's not going to be a longer-term choice for you. People don't think about that until they do 100 talks and they're like, oh man, I really want the money, but I don't really want to talk about this topic anymore. So what's your kind of true passion and your inner wisdom, and what is it that you might want to share? And then really understanding if you get paid for that topic or not, right? So as I said, transformation, not going to get paid for it. Getting closer to getting unstuck and things like that, that can get you to a place where you can start getting paid. So we can find that right positioning for you so people are attracted to your topic. You can talk about the same topic, but the positioning has to be in a way that's going to attract people, right? Again, authentic, attractive, right? And I'll help you go behind the scenes. I'll tell you where the people who pay for speakers are, right? So all those lists of the schools, the college organizations, the departments, the all-hands groups, the meeting planners, there are lists that exist. There are places that these guys go. So I can just give you these lists of how to contact them. You start sending emails, start making phone calls, start going to these events, and you can connect with them. Depending on who your positioning is for. Can I really charge that much? People always ask me this question when I coach them. So I'll teach you how to change your relationship to money. You guys might already have a great relationship to abundance, but to go from earning 6 figures working 80 hours a week to making 6 figures working 4 hours a week I felt guilt, I felt shame, I felt like, oh my God, am I worth it? All these things that I went through, and luckily I had an amazing coach who helped me through that process as well, so I can help you kind of understand how to step into that abundance if that's part of your journey, or if not, then I can help you with the rest. And then finally, how do you navigate and maximize this journey? So it took me 14 months to make 6 figures. It could take less for you, but again, I waited until I was a few months in before I invested in my coach. So I can train you in marketing, negotiating, pricing, and what I call empowered selling. And what I mean by empowered selling is people don't like selling, and selling for a high ticket income, like a few $1,000s, is kind of a big deal. But what if I felt really empowered? If I'm like flying somewhere and I had a long day, just got done speaking, I'm getting on a flight back home, and I'm feeling really just tired and out of it, and someone's like, oh, what do you do? And I go, oh, I'm a speaker, author, and coach. Oh my God, that's so exciting. I plan meeting events. Can you tell me more about what you do? I perk up like I just had 10 coffees, and I'm like, well, actually what I do, and I love talking about what I do, because as soon as I see an opportunity, I know that I will blow that audience's mind. I just know it because I've done it 500 times. I've done my presentation 500 times around the world. So I know it's perfected to an art. This is not this talk, another talk, right? So, but it's perfected now to an art. It's like a performance piece, and I know that it's going to be powerful, it's going to be impactful, and I know that I deserve to get paid for it. And so it just becomes this empowered place of saying, if you're looking for this, this, and this, I can help you get there. And so tell me more about what you're doing. And that curiosity and that conversation, I become alive again. It's not like, yeah, I'm a speaker and I do whatever. It's never like that. It just feels so empowered because I'm talking about the product that I believe in, right? And so that's all about getting out there and testing and doing all that. So if you want to know how to make that feel really empowered versus like a sales tactic, we can talk about that as well, all right? So doing this for 6 years, and hopefully this is the information I gave you, I can help you. I can definitely help you get to this place if you want to get there, all right? And what I'm talking about is here, right? You in front of this audience. So there's only one question that remains. There are over 100,000 paid speaking gigs going on every day. There are thousands of dollars being paid to people who are sharing their wisdom on a broad range of topics. And people are living this amazing lifestyle, having freedom, impact, and abundance. So the only question that remains is, why not you? All right, so if you're interested in learning more, I'll up here for a Q&A or come up and say hi, or feel free to shoot me an email, jayman@jaymanspeaks.com. Thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed it and got something out of it, and thank you for spending your afternoon with me. Thank you guys.
time for Q&A. If you have question, you can raise your hand. 3 questions.
Hi, stranger.
Hello, I watched your TED talk. I saw the link, and my question was: were you always such a natural speaker? Because you transitioned really well in that talk, and I was thinking how much, how to get. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I was very lucky that I did that TED Talk after I delivered maybe about 250 talks. So I was fairly polished at that point. That was 2 years ago, so I've done about 500 now. I was hella nervous coming on to doing that. And I wasn't necessarily always a great communicator. I don't know if you were here at the beginning when you saw like my nerdy 6th grade self. Did you see that? Yeah, there's I used to be kind of an introvert. And I was an engineering undergrad major, so that nerdy Indian engineer guy, that used to be me. And what brought it out was there wasn't one specific, and I get this question a lot, so thank you for asking it. It wasn't one specific moment where it just the lights turned on and then there I was. It was a slow process of me finding my edge, right? So it was kind of talking one-on-one with people. And then, kind of like in high school when all my friends were going into relationships and all that sort of stuff, I was somehow their relationship counselor, right? So just, I was so quiet and I was a great listener. And so they'd tell me everything and then I'd start thinking of how I might be able to help them after I started seeing patterns. And I've always had a mind of, being able to see the patterns. And so that kind of made me start talking some more. And then, I was in college and kind of expanded and was in, kind of in my Indian family, and then kind of was in a more broader world. And so that expanded me some more. And then just traveling. I lived in or visited over 50 states, all 50 states in the U.S. and over 50 countries. And so I'm always just on a plane or a train or a bus, and I'm bored. So I just start a conversation with the person next to me. And I have just been amazed by the people that I get to meet. I've met life partners, business partners, best friends, people like Joe who changed the trajectory of my life just because I started a conversation with a stranger. And so that gave me that kind of fire in the butt to start talking some more, to become more polished. And then I started doing it on stage, doing presentations at work. And so there's always, to me, it's if you're an introvert or you're a more quiet person, even the person who talked about being an introvert on stage, right? That's totally okay. And you don't have to go from 0 to 60. You just got to find your edge, right? So coming to Genius Cafe and doing a free talk like this, talking to Santi and saying, hey, this is what I can talk about, and trying it out and taking a little bit of risk that's safe, that feels safe enough but risky enough, that's when you open up and you're like, oh, that was actually okay. And maybe you get some feedback, some praise, or some gratitude, and that fuels you to just go and do it more. So it's just like building the momentum. I always say life is a momentum game, and I just had a lot of momentum built up to get me into a place where I can speak well, so thank you for that compliment. And separately from all of that, I also have a separate passion in Bollywood dance, and that led me to start doing performances at my family weddings, which I was so nervous about. But then I finally did one in a group, and then everybody was like, oh, you did great, keep doing it. And I was like, okay, thanks, And that was maybe around 8th grade or 10th grade. And so the performance piece of being on stage, that helped me a lot as well. So I think both of those combined. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, very nice story. Another question.
Hi. A question that I have, if you're addressing a lot of corporate audiences, especially in those kind of high-stress arenas, to live this life of travel and you can have anything that you want, how come they don't all just quit then and there and just decide, that's it, I'm not doing this job, I'm going to go out there and chase my dreams? Thank you, Jayman. So how do you get paid to speak in those kind of events with inspiration, and those people are inspired to stay exactly where they are and keep working from where they are, rather than live the life that you're living?
Great. This is actually the first time I've ever delivered this talk. I just created it last week. So I've never delivered this talk on how to live, What? Oh, last night, yeah, and last night. But I've been thinking about it for a week. I just literally put this together, in the last couple of days, So I've never gotten paid to speak on this topic. This is just talking to Santi. I was going to do my other topic, and then we decided to not do that one. That topic is all about helping them in their careers, and that's why I get paid to speak to them. So I'm not telling them to quit their jobs. Nobody will pay me to tell their team to quit their jobs. I'm just telling the community that I'm in right now the kind of lifestyle that I have access to, and just want to share it with more people. And so we thought this would be a good topic, so I put this together. I've never delivered this before, ever. The other topic that I do, I've delivered over 500 times, and it's all about career management, career momentum, how to connect with people, all those things I learned in my experience of struggling and then finding success, applied to getting a job that you want, or getting a promotion that you want in your company, or just becoming a better employee because you're able to connect with more people. It's all about networking like a rock star. That's my main topic that I get paid for. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, good. And thank you for clarifying. Yeah.
So, Jayman created this presentation only for us, for skill sharing. So he actually got paid from the corporate to train them, to share with them how to manage the work, how to connect with, how to make a team building sort of kind of thing, right?
Yep. Exactly.
So, yes. Any other question? All right.
Yes, I was going to ask you what your growth edge is, because you're obviously an expert and a speaker, and you've given this talk many times. So what are you working on that, not this talk, but your other talks that you give, what are you working on that's challenging you and pushing you to grow to a new edge?
That's awesome. The easy answer is I'm a dad of 2. And you can imagine if I'm only working 4 hours a week, I spend a lot of time with my children. And they're my greatest teachers. I'm learning so much compassion and love and patience and just the awe of life, that I think as adults we can sometimes forget. So my edge is really just that, just kind of going into that mature masculine place, creating this beautiful container of connecting with my children and my wife, right? Not just the children, but all, the whole family. And so I'm a family man. It's really important to me. It's been one of my missions. But that doesn't take all my time because, I love seeing patterns, I love helping people, and I love creating things that will help people. And so while I am not on my speaking tour that I do over those 4 months that I talked about, usually August through November, I do coaching, right? So I coach people, so that kind of keeps me going, and there's always some new challenge that I get to go and explore. And outside of that, I'm really passionate about social change, and I've had an opportunity to go through, have great coaches in my life. I invest lots and lots of money into personal development. So I have my MBA, I have all this access to wisdom, and so I connected with a huge company in Kuala Lumpur, and in May we're launching a weekend-long program for people who are passionate about social change but don't have all the skills to make solutions to the world's problems. And so it's called Changemakers U, and in 5 weeks we launched that in Kuala Lumpur, and we're going to teach everything from personal transformation and shadow work and how you relate to abundance and money and self-worth and all those things, to sustainable business models, to design thinking, to analytics, to storytelling, to networking, and we're putting it all into one place where wisdom does not usually exist all in one place, multidisciplinary wisdom. And so that's our passion project, and I've been spending a lot of time also working on that. So I would say those are my kind of 3 edges: fatherhood, coaching, and then creating a passion project that just gets me jazzed and super excited. So thank you for that question.
Wow. Is there any more question?
First of all, thank you, Jayman, for sharing your experience. Super cool
my joy.
and very inspiring. So,
See what I mean by gratitude, though? Thank you, Andres.
And what I would like to, I actually have a lot of questions, but maybe one for now. When you started, you said this first thing that happened in the airplane. Coincidentally, you started talking to a stranger. Now, that brought you to your first speaking gig, and what happened exactly, or a little
First
bit more
paid
detail?
speaking gig.
First paid speaking gig. Now, when you get started, when you were getting started, did you also actively market yourself in terms of inbound marketing, like with a blog, or did you get traffic to your website? How did you get attention more than that? Or was it from the beginning only the word of mouth that you got recommended and people came to you? Because it sounds almost like too good to be true, man. Like everybody, it seems like just comes to you, but was there a time where you had to like reach out and either write a million emails or get an email list, a lead magnet and all those online marketing strategy?
Yeah.
Was there a time when you had to do this as well?
Absolutely, yeah. So if you go to my website, I have a lead magnet. I did the whole traditional life cycle marketing thing, and I realized I didn't need it. So I spent a lot of time doing that. For me, what I realized is I can just go to where these people are, and I can connect with them, get their business cards, network with them, call them on the phone, send them emails, right? So there are places where these people gather, right? And so the first group of people who paid me, they said, we go to this annual meeting where there's other people like us. You should come and speak. And so I went through the process and I spoke there, and I had 12 schools that right after I got done talking said, we want you on campus this fall, right? So I found, instead of doing the inbound stuff, which is all fine and good, people love doing that, I personally don't like having to write a blog every week. I personally don't like having to do the social media game. And you can do that and be even more successful if you can get more exposure. But for me, it was really pointed. I got my positioning, I got my market, and I found out how I can communicate my positioning to that market. That's all I did. And that's all I do. I go to 2 events a year, and I meet people who are in my market, and I tell them what I do, and then they book me. That's it. I don't...
Showing up in person, basically.
Showing up in person, yeah.
connecting.
I do some outreach, yeah. So if I'm traveling somewhere, I'll reach out to folks and get their contacts. I have my VA. She'll do some things where she'll get the email addresses of the local organizations that would potentially book me who are in my market, and they'll say, hey, Jayman's coming to town. He's going to be there for a period of 2 weeks. Would you want to book him? Here's who he is, and then she'll make a connection with me. So it's literally as long as you can get your positioning and your market matched, you just tell as many people in your market about your positioning. And because they're going to pay you for it, there's a huge world there. And I don't need to talk to 1,000 people. Again, I can talk to 40 people if I was only making 2,500 per talk, which I'm now. I'm making more than that. But if I can talk to 40 people to book me, then I'm making 6 figures, right? So what I'm saying is that it scales very quickly. And if you go to my website, my last blog was written 4 years ago, and the lead magnet is there because I already put it in there. But it's not the way I run business. So you don't have to do all that stuff. If you do it, great. If you love doing that, it's just not what I wanted to spend my time doing. I just go straight to the market. I talk about my positioning, and it's so irresistible that they're like, yes, we need this. And so when you can find that connection, that's all you got to do.
Okay. Thank you,
Does that
Jayman.
answer your question? Yeah.
Thank
Great.
you.
All right, one more, Pia.
I just wondered, did you see a correlation between your inner process of self-worth when it comes to abundance and also the outside? Was it a correlation in the timing?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know how woo-woo you guys are. I'm pretty woo-woo. Okay? I speak to corporate audiences, but I added some woo-woo in there to try to convert them. No, I'm just kidding, but I am woo-woo, and so to me, absolutely. When I stepped into connecting with my intention, my affirmations of understanding what I wanted in my career and how I related to abundance and money and the work that I'm doing, it directly translated into the reality of what I saw. Yeah. So, for example, listening to the universe, I had in the last 4 months, maybe I've had about 20 people ask me, "Hey, I really am serious about wanting to know what you're doing," so I said, "Okay, you know what? I'm going to just put this into a group coaching. I'm gonna create a group coaching program, and I'm gonna ask for 10 people to be in it." So I just kind of connected with that intention and put it all out there. I have 12 people who are in my kind of group coaching program. So it directly translates. When you understand how to be in integrity with your intentions and things like that, it's called manifestation. I believe it's real, and so that's a part of what I help people with. And they've had success in their own ways, whether it's getting through difficult situations, or finding career growth, or getting through divorce. all of that has been all about holding on to the intention. So I'm a strong believer in that, and I only believe in it because I've seen the evidence, not only for me but for the people that I coach. So I think that's a huge piece of that. If you don't have that, it's still going to work. It's just more risky. I feel like it reduces the risk when you put that intention in and ask for what you're seeking from something, and you're very clear on that. Again, it's about everything I do is very clear, right? It's like clear and pragmatic. Like, what do I want from this for abundance? What do I want? I sit down with my wife every year, right before my speaking season, before I go to one of these meetings, and I tell her, I said, okay, this is my intention for the year. This is what I want to earn for the rest of the year, and then we earn it. So I believe in that, but there's other ways to work around it if you're not quite in that woo-woo space.
All right. I call it a law of attraction.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, the law of attraction. I mean, I don't just sit there with a vision board and wish. I take action. But yeah, that's what it is. There's a real trick to manifestation.
All right. Thank you so much for the great talk for today. And
My joy. Thank you.
I enjoyed it a lot. We all enjoyed it a lot. Thank you for sharing. And Ari and Jayman will do another talk next month, May and June. So we have another to talk for them.
Yeah, in May we'll be talking about just that photo that I showed of the life of And. We're traveling around the world, doing work that we love, having the abundance to do things that we want, being full-time parents, and having a great relationship. Typically people talk to us and they're like, oh, I got all the 4 of those things, but I just don't know how I can do this with children. Or I can work remotely, but I hate my job. Or, there's always this component that's missing. And Ari and I have made a commitment to each other and with our family to not live in this world that we were brought up in, which is that life is full of tough choices. You can't have it all. You have to choose this or that. And instead we choose this and that, and we live what we call the life of and it's all about having that abundance mindset, some more about the manifestation type stuff that I was just talking about. It's working. Is working for people that we share this with, and so relationship stuff. So we'll talk about dynamic relationships, communication tools. A lot of like Ari's department. We'll talk about launching 6-figure businesses, doing stuff that you love that we both have right now with our coaching and our speaking. We'll talk about family and how to change the patterns around being a better parent, and the resources that are out there for doing that, and how to travel with children, travel hacks, which everybody loves. So all that stuff. It's just about having it all and how to do it. So it's called The Life of And we'll talk about that in May 22nd. So come back for that.
There's also applied for entrepreneurs who have basic, you have business here with the family, with your kids, so this is how to manage all the family stuff while you're doing your business. Yeah.
You can have it all.
It's a complicated thing.
You can have it all.
Exactly. So thank you very much for coming today, and
thank you guys. Thank you.
Very nice, Jayman. I love it, and we will see you again next Tuesday. And I hope you enjoy this talk. And before we end this, I have this book to really find the best in Bali. We are here on this book, Genius Café. So the book is all about the coupons, the discount that you will get, the special price. For example, 1 for 2. So if you want to enjoy a romantic dinner, this is all about recommendation, where to go, and you get the coupon. And the price is only 250,000 rupiah for this event. So we have it later here in the cashier if you like. And I have this name card if you like to connect with Jayman, or you want to ask for a name card, you can write it down here, or you want to share your name card with everyone here. And thank you very much. I'll see you again next Tuesday.